frosty darkness clings to his face. Stay until the end, or the water finally stills. The climb had been a long and arduous one, the snow-capped peak of Everest looming before him like a ghostly sentinel. Every step had been a battle, the thin air sucking the life from his lungs, the wind howling like a chorus of banshees in his ears. He had not spoken to another human being in 31 days. What he discovered out there is something most people spend a lifetime avoiding. The snow fell gently at first, casting a serene silence over the mountain, but he knew it was a deceptive calm. The storm was brewing, its fury waiting to be unleashed. What happened next changed everything he thought he knew about himself. The snowflakes grew thicker, heavier, until they became a blinding wall of white, reducing visibility to almost zero. He stumbled, his foot catching on a hidden rock, and fell, the wind knocked from his lungs. The silence that followed was unlike any he had ever heard. It was as if the mountain itself was holding its breath, waiting to see if he would rise again. He struggled to his feet, his body screaming in protest, but he knew he had to keep moving. The storm was closing in, its icy fingers reaching out to snatch him from the mountain. The air was filled with the acrid smell of snow and ice, the taste bitter on his lips. He wrapped his arms around his chest, trying to conserve what little body heat he had left. The cold seeped into his bones, making his joints ache with a dull, throbbing pain. Every step was a battle, the snowdrifts deepening, until he was wading through them like a swimmer in a frozen sea. And then, suddenly, he was blind, the snow falling so thickly that he could see nothing. He stumbled, fell, and lay there, the storm raging on, its fury unabated. The darkness closed in around him, a suffocating shroud that threatened to consume him whole. He felt the weight of his solitude, the crushing burden of being alone in a vast, uncaring universe. What lay ahead, he had no idea, but he knew he had to keep moving, no matter what. The thought sent a spark of determination through him, a flame of defiance that flickered to life in the darkness. It cast a warm glow over his frozen body, thawing his limbs, and filling him with a newfound sense of purpose. He rose, his movements slow and labored, but he rose, the storm still raging on, its power undiminished. The hours ticked by, each one a slow, agonizing crawl, the silence broken only by the howling wind and the soft crunch of snow beneath his feet. He walked, his eyes fixed on some point ahead, his mind numb, his body frozen, but his spirit unbroken. The mountain loomed above him, its peak lost in the swirling clouds, but he knew he had to reach it, to conquer it, to prove to himself that he was still alive. The thought drove him on, a burning fire that consumed him, body and soul. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the storm stopped, the snowflakes ceasing to fall, the wind dying away to a gentle whisper. The silence was almost palpable, a living, breathing thing that enveloped him in its stillness. He stood there, frozen, his eyes scanning the horizon, his heart pounding in his chest. The world was remade, the snow-covered peaks stretching out before him like a frozen sea. He felt small, insignificant, a tiny speck in a vast and uncaring universe. But he also felt alive, connected to something deeper and more profound than himself. The experience had changed him, had altered him in some fundamental way, had given him a newfound appreciation for the beauty and the power of nature. He stood there, drinking in the stillness, feeling the cold seep into his bones, and knew that he would never be the same again. The memory of those 3 days on the mountain would stay with him forever, a haunting reminder of the power of solitude and the human spirit. The stillness of the mountain, the beauty of the snow-covered peaks, and the silence of the frozen wilderness would stay with him, a balm to his soul, a reminder of the beauty and the wonder of the world. He knew that he would return, that he would come back to this place, to relive the experience, to recapture the sense of awe and wonder that it had inspired in him. The mountain had become a part of him, a piece of his soul, a reminder of the beauty and the power of the natural world. And as he stood there, the snow-covered peaks stretching out before him, he knew that he would always be drawn to it, like a moth to a flame, helpless to resist its beauty and its power. If this story moved you, if it made you stop, breathe, and think, subscribe to Still Waters Speak. New stories every single day. See you tomorrow.